let's talk about ratios, rates, and proportions. The first thing I want to go over are ratios. And a ratio is a comparison of two quantities. If I was to take something like 3 to 5, I could write that not only as my ratio here, but I can write it also as 3 over 5. And all I'm doing here is I'm showing a relationship between these two amounts. For example, maybe every 3 cookies I have 5 brownies. Now the big piece here is that ratios behave exactly like fractions, which means I can multiply or divide both parts by the same number and the relationship stays the same. So if I was to take 3 to 5 here, let's say in this case I had my 3 cookies to my 5 brownies and I multiplied it by 2. Well, now I have my 6 cookies to my 10 brownies. The same way, if I have 3 over 5 and I multiply both the 3 and the 5 by 2, I end up with 6 over 10, which is equivalent to 3 over 5. Think of it like a recipe. If a recipe calls for maybe 2 cups of flour and 3 cups of milk, that's a 2 to 3 ratio. If I want to make twice as much, I'm not just going to use maybe 4 cups of flour and 3 cups of milk. No, I would take 4 cups of flour and also multiply that 3 cups of milk by 2 to get 6 cups of milk. The ratio 4 to 6 is equivalent to 2 to 3 because I scaled both parts by that factor of 2. Now, when you work with proportions, the scale factor is going to be your best friend. You want to find out what number you need to multiply or divide to get from one ratio to another. Let's go ahead and try a problem real quick. Let's say I have a ratio of 4 to 7. That is the ratio we have here. And let's say now that 4 is going to become a 28. I want to know, what is the 7 going to become? If this ratio is to stay the same and I have 28 at the first value, what is that 7? Here's how we could do it. 2 ways we could look at it. First, we could say, well, how do we get from 4 to 28? Well, I know from 4 to 28, that's going to be 4 times 7. Well, if I had to multiply by 7 there, I can multiply 7 by 7, and that'll give me 49. So I know the ratio will be 28 to 49. We could also write it like this. I can say since I have 4 over 7 here, that's going to be equal to my 28 over what? We can put an x there, and now we can solve for x. All I have to do is multiply each side by x. We'll do 4 over 7 times x equals 28. And then last thing here, to get that x on its own, I'm going to multiply the other side by 7 over 4, so I can cancel out that 4 over 7. Then it becomes 28 over 1 times 7 over 4. And when you finish this out, we're going to get x equals 49. So once again, we find that our ratio is 28 to 49. And if we were to divide 28 by 49, it would give us the same value as 4 over 7. Let's go ahead and try this in an SAT problem now. They say the ratio of boys to girls in a class is 5 to 8. If we have 40 girls, how many boys are there? Well, let's look at the problem the same way we just did. We know we have a ratio of 5 to 8, and we say we have 40 girls in this class, and we want to find out the number of boys. Well, let's think about it like this. 8 times what is going to get us to 40? We could do 8 times 5 is going to get us to 40. Now, we can take that scale factor of 5 and multiply it the same on the other side here. We'll do 5 times 5, and that'll give us 25, meaning when we have 40 girls in the class, we also have 25 boys. Let's take a look at another one here. We say a car travels 180 miles in 3 hours. At this rate, how far will it travel in 5 hours? We'll do 180, 2, 3, and now we want to look for 5 hours. So let's set it up the same way we did before. We say 180 over 3 equals x over 5 because we're trying to find out what that value is. Now, it's quite convenient for us. We know 180 divided by 3 is just going to be 60. So we get 60 equals x over 5, and then we can multiply each side here by 5, and we'll get 5 times 60, which will give us 300, meaning it will take us 5 hours to go 300 miles. Let's do one more here. If we say that 3 pencils cost 150 cents or $1.50, how much do 7 pencils cost? Let's take a look at this here. If I know 3 pencils cost me $1.50, I can set that up the same way we did before. We'll do 3 over 1.5, and then the other side is going to equal 7 pencils, but we don't know how much it's going to cost us. So we'll put our x in the denominator here. Next thing for us, we can do 3 divided by 1.5. That's going to give us 2, and we'll get 2 equals 7 over x. We can multiply each side by x. We'll get 2x equals 7. And then we can divide each side by 2, and we'll get x equals 7 over 2, or x equals $3.50. So it's $3.50 for 7 pencils. Now, last leaving tips for you guys. Make sure you guys identify what quantity corresponds to what. You want to make sure you're setting up your proportions correctly. Set them up carefully and match your units. Your units are going to help you a whole lot. Make sure as you're using the unit rates, you're using 1 to 1. It's going to be the fastest way to solve them. And see if you guys can simplify before cross multiplying. A lot of the time, it's going to shorten the work that you have to do.